Hey, it's Dr. Ernst, host of the Ask Dr. Ernst show, and I'm curious if you would be willing to let me show you for free how to heal yourself. I've just put the finishing works on a brand new ebook called Find Your Healing, a step-by-step guide to locating the top 3 interferences with natural healing. Your thoughts, the traumas you physically have had to your body, and toxins. We're going to show you how to identify each of those and some simple at-home techniques that you can begin to implement natural healing. If you'd like me to send you this new ebook, just text the word healing to 704-906-2094. Don't forget to also send your name and your email so we can send it directly to you. And also as a bonus, I'm hosting a masterclass, How to Heal Yourself. It's on Saturday, September 14th at 10 a.m. in the morning. That's also free. Text the word healing with your name and email to 704-906-2094. Once again, 704-906-2094.
Beyond wine, we really care about health. The health of the planet and the health of each other. That's what inspired us to start this business. Our family of team members meets every morning for a group meditation, followed by an open gratitude session. We believe a sound mind with a focus on peace is the best instrument for change. Joint meditation is the cornerstone of our company culture, and it helps us remember what's important, spreading joy and love, just like our family growers. Our family is a collection of passionate, health-conscious individuals who love to laugh and enjoy each other's company. We eat seasonally, grow our own vegetables, cook together, and share wine. Our team is incredibly dedicated to our mission. Everything from sourcing the wines to answering service questions. Your natural wines are found and sourced around the world by our wine team. They taste every one, oversee their lab testing, and choose exactly which ones go in which box. If you order, your individual box will be packed by our incredibly hardworking fulfillment team. If you have any questions, your service requests will be handled by a wonderfully loving member experience family who only have one goal in mind, your 100% happiness. This video is put together by our talented media team, filmed and edited in-house, just like the rest of our artful media. From our unique creations to our printed lifestyle piece called A Matter of Taste. We put love into everything we do, and we hope to share it with you.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy Saturday. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst show. My name is Dr. Ernst. It's the show where we are going to transform your health. It's the show where you get to become your own doctor and heal yourself. And this is part 2.0 of the interview with Dr. Dan Sullivan, the Chiropractic Advocate. Dr. Dan, thanks for being online with us today.
It's my pleasure. Pal, I'm excited. This topic today, man, is near and dear to my heart. I've literally traveled the world talking about this, and I know you've been doing this for a long time there in the Charlotte community.
Yes, and guys, our show topic is the raw power of chiropractic, the evidence-based nature of chiropractic, and maybe we'll still continue the conversation about how the medical powers to be don't want you to know what Dr. Dan Sullivan is going to share with you today. So, hey, I got an exceptional result. We had over 100 people ask for your poster and your ebook of the research and my free gift of how to find a structural chiropractor and functional physician. So, Dr. Dan, are you okay if we just give that away again this week?
Sounds like a great idea. Yeah. For those of you who didn't get it, you're going to want to get it, especially that how to find a good chiropractor. I mean, obviously, Dr. Aaron and I have been doing this a long time. And we've dealt with this question, like, who do I go to? How do I know who's good? So that guide is going to help you probably more than anything, because the science, bores some of you, I know. Just know that it's there. It's backed by the best evidence. We're going to cover some of that. But who you go to is a critical element in terms of the care that you're going to get.
Well, how about this? Would you agree with me, Dr. Dan? The chiropractor you should go to should know that research in your packet. And if they don't, then you shouldn't go see them. Like if you were to call a chiropractor and say, hey, did you see I'm going to make this up, the 2004 article about how chiropractic got rid of someone's diabetes in less than 2 months, and can you do that for me? And if they go, wait, what? To hang up the phone and find another chiropractor. Would you agree?
Yeah, exactly. They should have a very clear understanding. It goes back to also have objective findings, right? We test, we don't guess. Like, do they have an ability to test you? Do they have an ability to see what's wrong? Just like a dentist would be able to see what's wrong with your mouth if they evaluated you without having any symptoms. So these are all key elements to know that you're at the right, at the right place.
Yeah, and so this guide, Find Your Healing, has the questions to ask, and it gives you the answers you should look for. The power of an adjustment poster, in my opinion, is worth gold. I mean, I'd easily pay $3,000 for that poster. And the top 10 researched evidence-based articles are yours free. All you have to do is text your name, your email, and the word health to 704-906-2094. The number again, 704-906-2094. For our video casters, our vloggers, and everyone watching the video streams live, just click the link above and below, and then on the screen is all the information for you. So, Dr. Dan, let's get into it, right? We've got 22 and a half minutes to talk about the raw evidence that the method of healing and the techniques of correction is not found in a pill bottle or a lotion or an injection. Where is it? Where do we find healing today?
Yeah, this is a great place to start. I feel like we got to break down some barriers. The first thing we have to evaluate is, and we talked about this last episode, is why you haven't heard this before. And we're not going to get into that. You should go re-listen. But the bottom line is, there's some powers that be, there's been some money, there's been the Rockefellers and the Carnegies and the JP Morgans that would have hid information and got them and considered it pseudoscientific and quackery. So that's established. So that's why we haven't heard it. Now the question becomes, all right, how can we make sense of this, right? And so when Dr. Aaron and I went to school years ago, we had to make sense of this. And you first start with, okay, why the spine? And I always make this analogy. I say, if your Uncle Ricky got into a car accident and your mom called you and said, hey, Uncle Ricky got in a car accident and he broke his leg and he's in the hospital recovering, you would be concerned and care for him, but you think, okay, that stinks. But it would be different than your response if you found out Uncle Ricky got in a car accident and he broke his neck. You see, that takes on a different meaning in your mind. Why? Because you inherently understand that the spine has a different role than the leg or the arm. So we first can establish that the spine has an important role that's unique, different, and more significant than other parts of the body. Why? Because the spinal cord runs through it. So here's what I want to first establish, that just like a dentist, you could go to a dentist, not have any idea you have any cavities, and they find out you have a cavity. Because there's parts of your body, in fact, lots of parts of your body you don't feel. And thank goodness, because if we felt everything, I would say most of us wouldn't be walking around. We'd be in so much pain. So God put a mechanism that sensory nerves are only a small part of the entire nervous system. So this is why you probably hear chiropractors, well, we should check you to find out if there's anything wrong because I don't feel like there's wrong. I don't feel broken. Just like you could go find out you have a tumor or find out you have high blood pressure or find out you have these things going on. This is why finding the right chiropractor that has testing. Why do I say this? Why am I going off? Because we've asked all the questions, guys. Like this isn't, Dr. Aaron and I don't show up here and say, oh man, I'm trying to pull the wool over their eyes to get them to believe that the spine is important and that there can be things that go wrong that they don't know about. Hence the reason why you'd want to go to chiropractor. So before I get into the research, and I'll let you go establish that, Dr. Aaron, but we just established some baselines. The spine is important because God made it important, not because chiropractors made it important. It's just the same anatomy and physiology that every MD, PT, and neurologist learns.
How about this? So I have a 7-year-old. You have 3 girls, yes? I have the book by Dr. Seuss called Inside Your Outside. Do you have this book?
Yes, I do actually, yes.
They go, hey, this is Cat in the Hat. We're going to go inside the Inside Your Out machine. And they go, come with me, kids. We're going to show you what's inside your body. And I find it fascinating. The very first thing they show is the brain and the spinal cord. I should have brought it. Oh, I wish I had brought it. Maybe I can have my team throw it up real quick on the screen. But it would show Sally and whatever the kid's name is and Cat in the Hat going through this conveyor belt. And they're like, it starts at the top is your brain. Your brain sends messages to and from. It controls your heart. It controls your lungs. It makes you breathe. It is your sensory organ. And I'm like, what? Like a kid's book says your body starts with your brain. Now, I'm sure you've heard this question before, and we get asked it a ton. When I say something like, hey, what's the most important organ in the human body? What do most people say?
The heart.
Exactly. So we've been programmed because of the lies of lies that your heart is the most important organ. You would die if your heart doesn't beat. There would be no blood circulating through your body. And that's all true. But Dr. Dan, I know you've got research about cardiovascular and chiropractic, but doesn't the brain tell the heart what to do?
Exactly. Yep. It happens no other way. Yep.
So here's my question. If I had to say, for example, give me the evidence, prove to me that chiropractic is a healing art above all healing arts, is better for my health care than my medical care, where would you go first? What would be your pull this article out and tell me about it?
Ask that question one other time.
Got it. So let me ask this then. If we were to talk about chiropractic and say, I want to show people an analogy like you said, my nervous system, I know it's most important. I know that breaking my neck is worse than breaking my leg. And I'm nervous though, I'm concerned. I want to try this thing called chiropractic, but I've heard that it can cause a stroke. I've heard it can hurt my joints. How would I approach this question to a person who says, okay, I'm interested in chiropractic, but I'm nervous. I'm 47. I've never been to a chiropractor and I'm afraid of what I'm going to experience. How would we calm that anxiety in them?
Yeah, that's a great question. My first thing is chiropractic has been around since 1895. In fact, it was September 18th, 1895. The only reason it has survived amongst the scrutiny, amongst AMA trying to eradicate it, which they were convicted of being guilty in 1987 by the Supreme Court to try to eradicate the chiropractic profession. So we've gone against so much strife and scrutiny. The only reason it survived has been results. And so if we didn't get results, then we'd have been gone a long time ago. Now, that said, I can relate and have understand people that may have uncertainties or insecurities around it. Now, then I look at the evidence. So, what does the evidence say? I mean, you even mentioned some of these things that people think occur. The evidence is crystal clear. And so when you look at the science and you look at the research and you look at the anecdotal as well as the randomized controlled trials or these meta-analysis that evaluate the safety and efficacy of chiropractic, it's not even close in terms of its safety compared to our medical counterparts. Now, here's what I want to say. I also relate with everybody, and just like everybody's first experience with, I don't know, a roller coaster or something else, you get used to it, and the reality is that people, you have that trust for that provider. And we just want to encourage you. We're not weird. Like, the other thing is, we're kind of weird, but like, we're not that weird. I remember I went to the first chiropractic experience I had. I was pole vaulter in high school, got injured, went to all these doctors. My mom's been was a nurse for decades. My two brothers are medical doctors. So I grew up in the medical model. My mom, I went to MD, or I went to PT, then I went to MD, then I went to neurologist, then I went to orthopedist, then I went to special bones, doctor, had all the scans, and they said we think it's in your head. Like they told my mom it's in your head, because there was nothing physically that they could see on their test that would indicate why I was having the pain, but I couldn't run. And so they wanted to put me on antidepressants, and I didn't care what I was going to get done to me. I just wanted to be back playing, baseball, which is right around the corner. So nonetheless, I went to a chiropractor, and I'm like, how in the world was somebody with, like, he didn't have the technology. His office wasn't as nice as the places I'd been in. He didn't have the big windows and all the fancy stuff. And I'm like, how is this guy getting at me better when everybody else couldn't? But lo and behold, I had a little hope. And he took an x-ray, and he evaluated it, and he drew some lines on it, and he said, right here. He said, look at your pelvis. Look at this compared to this. And I was like, yeah, why hasn't anybody else shown me that? But I still didn't have full hope. So I'm like, I had some other smarter doctors on the job here, so what I thought. And he starts adjusting me, and lo and behold, I start getting better. And so I'm with you. Like, I didn't have any experience of that. My families didn't grow up that. If anything, it was like a negative, thought in my mind. So I can relate. So that said, I went down this trajectory, and I can vividly remember, like, I'm going to be the black sheep. Like, I am going to go down this. If he got me well, I'm going to figure out what's happened. But here's the thing, and this is what I want to talk about in this show, which is, if you're one that thinks that there's no evidence that supports or backs up the validity of chiropractor, even outside of the traditional back and neck pain, musculoskeletal, I'm in pain to overcome it, I've got news for you. The first study I want to bring up is this all MD study that was done in 2005. And here's what they did. It was all MD. So if you hate chiropractors, listen, you may love MDs. This is what they said. The research clearly said that every aspect of human health that they measured, both subjectively, meaning how the person felt, and objectively, what they measured from hearts and blood and digestion, everything they measured got worse as the posture deviation increased. They took 352 individuals, and they found out that every aspect of their health that they measured and they asked them about was worse based on the plumb line evaluation to see how good or bad their posture was. What does this tell us? Your spine is the window to your posture. Your posture is an indicative of how healthy you're going to be. That I will pair that up with a study that came out in 2013 that showed that they took 4 groups. They compared the first group to the other 3 groups. The biggest comparison was what is the posture health of 4 groups. The 4th group had the worst posture, 3rd group had the 3rd worst, the 2nd group had the 2nd worst, and they compared it to the control group, was group 1. Well, guys, I want you to listen to this. Group 4 had a 393% increased risk of disability, meaning that some activity of daily living they were not able to perform, put on a bra, get up off a toilet, tying your shoes, putting on a shirt, these activities of daily living, there was a 393% increased risk of being disabled or having an activity of daily living you can no longer do, all based on how bad your posture was. So if for a second, that's why we talk about corrective care, and why Dr. Ernst, how to find the right chiropractor is so critical, because you've got to find the one that's going to help you correct this postural alignment to gravity. This improves the nervous system, which we can get in.
Absolutely. And here's what I love. The thing with you, Dr. Dan, being a chiropractic advocate, is you will dig deep and find evidence. I mean, it exists. There's so much evidence. It's almost kind of like people are like, hey, can you find me a published journal that shows somebody had diabetes, they went to a chiropractor, and now they don't? It's like, yeah, that's so easy to find. What's hard is, can you show me a study where people took like Jardiance and metformin and glucophage for 90 days and their diabetes was gone? That's nearly impossible to find. So it's kind of like a conundrum where the research that people want is readily available, but it's so hard to find. And because we live in a world where we go to our medical doctor for health care and health advice, if we ask them, hey, is there any evidence behind chiropractic actually helping my condition? Most medical doctors aren't reading the research, and they are giving misinformation and false hope to people saying, you know what? No, but I had an uncle's friend whose dog's owner went to a chiropractor and he had like a stroke, so you shouldn't do this. Like, would you agree with me? Like, there is such a disconnect between what the research says and what is in mainstream medicine.
Yeah, and this is where I've spoken at research centers, and I was at the University of Nebraska in Omaha one time, and there was a guy named Irving Zucker, who was the head of the editor-in-chief of the American Journal of Cardiology, and I was able to present to him, but then we'd had some backroom conversations, and they don't even know that they don't know. Now, this guy knows more than he's forgotten more than I'll ever know in terms of the heart and its relationship with human health. However, the connection between the spine and the nervous system, and therefore these aspects of it's not his fault. It just was never connected. It's never connected. They come into office like yours, Dr. Aaron, and they would be like, how does this happen? They don't know. They've never seen it before. So, but guys like you and I do need the evidence, because if I'm going to go toe to toe with somebody, not because I want to prove them wrong, let the jury decide. You, the people, are the jury. I just want that to be that we have an even playing field. And that if at the end of the day, somebody wants to take more drugs and do that model, God bless you, go do it. But there are many of you out there that don't. And you say, you know what? I want to find a doctor that can look at me and find out if I can heal on my own. And you cannot neglect this postural health. That's why I go back and I look at all the medical evidence that supports what we've been talking about for 130 years. So this stuff fires me up, as you can tell, and excites me, because most people aren't getting answers. And then they think that we're crazy, and I am a little bit, like I said, you're a little bit crazy, but crazy in all the right reasons, because we know and believe that your body is capable to heal. It's not, we don't just believe, we trust the fact that it was able to heal. Now, the interference is real. The spine has an intimate and direct relationship with your brain, and that's the new research that's come out in the last 15 years that's been earth-shattering in all the research circles of how critical the brain health is to your spine health.
I tell you, you hit the nail on the head of what I believe is going to help people heal, is when they recognize your brain is more than just this mushy piece of, material in your skull. It is doing hundreds of millions of thousands of things every second, keeping you alive. And I think if we could simplify it, maybe you could either agree or disagree. I teach that your brain's sole job is to keep you alive. That's it. Its sole job is to keep you alive. And it will do anything and everything that it can to do that. And if you interfere, like obviously it makes sense. If I drink a gallon of bleach, am I interfering with my brain's ability to keep me alive? Heck yeah, I'm going to burn a hole in my stomach. Bleach is going to get everywhere and I would die. And no one would physically drink a gallon of bleach because your brain is going to say, that's stupid, don't do that. But what some of your brains don't do is say, well, hey, a gallon of bleach in 2 years drinking chlorinated water, that's not a problem, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this comes back to the original founder of chiropractic said the first interference is the way we think. It's our consciousness. It's our knowledge, our understanding. The second layer of interference is the physicality of a trauma. If you dislodge a disc or pinch a nerve or tear a ligament. And the third is something, and you have to think about how revolutionary this is in the 1890s to say toxins. Like, my God, what kind of toxins did we have in 1890? Maybe alcohol, cigarettes, tobacco, bacteria, viruses. But today, there's over 80,000 known endocrine disruptors. And so think of the power of this one man, Dr. Daniel Palmer, D.D. Palmer, to say toxins interfere with your brain. A subluxation, physicality interferes with your brain, and your thoughts interfere with your brain. And if you just hone in on those three things and remove those interferences, the body is self-healing. It's the root foundation of chiropractic. Hey, we've got 5 minutes, Dr. Dan. Let's bring some heat of what you'd like to close out today with in inspiring and educating people?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, if you're sitting there and if you are not under the care of a chiropractor or you've never seen a chiropractor, the first thing we want you to ask yourself is, could there be something in your spine that is interfering with the nervous system and without back pain, And some of you do have some aches and pains. Like what I can tell you, right? There's always this thing is you don't have to feel bad to feel better. And it all comes down to the connection between your spine and nervous system. So I've traveled the world talking about the intimate connection between your spine and your brain. And so when your spine is not aligned or moving appropriately, it is unequivocal, meaning it's not even debatable that you are going to have abnormal, what we call aberrant afferent input into the brain. And then that means that the efferent activity that is controlling your body from your brain is going to be altered. So this is where research comes out and shows, like, for example, research out of Chicago Rush Hypertension Center, again, George Bacris, an MD, he teamed up with a chiropractor, no neck pain. None of these people had neck pain, by the way, and they evaluated the top part of the neck, the top bone called the atlas, and they found it to be misaligned. And then they put an adjustment, and here's the thing, they used a technique that there was no cracking, there was no cavitation. So the people that got the adjustment didn't know which ones got it and which ones didn't. So it was a very good study. And it showed the people that got the actual adjustment had the response and the result of not one, but as if they were taking 2 blood pressure medications given a combination, meaning they lowered blood pressure with adjusting the top bone. They didn't even know who was the one that got adjustment. Why this is important is because in the world of research, you've got to have some controls. And why this is so powerful, because Dr. Aaron and I, we've seen this over and over and over again. Your spine is intimately connected to your nervous system. Your nervous system runs your body. So it's not weird, it's not radical to think that when you start getting adjusted and areas of disturbance, you start healing from the inside out. There's so many other studies. So Cato study showing that postural health, which is huge right now because of tech neck and all the sitting and the things that we do. Sitting is now the new smoking. That's established in 2015 by a journal. So we all are up against these stressors that Dr. Aaron talked about. I just want you to know and take away that you can't, if you go through life and don't have this relationship with your spine that's healthy and it's not aligned and moving appropriately, your brain health is going to be influenced. And so we want to make sure you know that you can get better. And there's studies. Another one, 2003, I'm sorry I'm going off on this, but 2003, they took 3 groups of people. They had spinal pain, and they took 3 groups. The one group saw chiropractor, one group had NSAIDs, and one group saw acupuncturist. And they took the worst patients. So if you're in pain, listen to this. The worst patients were taken to the chiropractor. The worst pain and the longest duration of pain. And after it's all said and done, there was a 3-month trial that the chiropractic patients got 5 times better than the NSAID patients and 3 times better than acupuncture. So it's like I could just recite research after research. I just want you to know there's evidence behind what we do. And if you've not been checked and you're not under regular care, you're missing out on a huge component that could take you to the next level of your health. And if you are suffering, I'm going to tell you, don't wait around. Get to the chiropractor that we're talking about.
And here's the best part of it. The University of Chicago study, one adjustment, that drop in blood pressure lasted for 8 weeks. It was an 8-week follow-up, and they found the people's blood pressure was still lower. 2 medications for daily, taking 2 medications daily would be required. So I think it's awesome that you get so jazzed up and fired because I know you know the secret. Like I know the secret. We know that health comes from within. We know that your brain and spinal cord are running everything. We know from toenail fungus all the way to tinnitus in your ears, you can get better if you engage a self-healing technique where chiropractic is a third. Remember, there's 3 things: your thoughts, your traumas, and your toxins. So chiropractic addresses 1/3. It gets rid of the trauma to the neurological pathways, but you still need to seek out someone who can help you with your thinking and someone who can help you with your toxicities. Dr. Dan, we've got 2 minutes. Close this out.
You know, I will say this, a couple things. One, we talked about this on the last show, that the reason why chiropractic even exists and matters is because that God put the most amazing healing power in your brain, your spinal cord. And that's what we subscribe to. It's not that the chiropractor has any healing or extra healing than any other doctor. It's just that we recognize, right, that the greatest doctor's on the inside. And so I can relate if you're out there saying, man, I don't know, these chiros, once you go, you got to keep going. There's all these things, but the same thing is like, once you go to those gym and go to those trainers, they say that you should just keep working out. Once you start eating good, it makes sense. Anything that you're going to do, once you got to change your oil once, you got to keep changing. Once you take your wife out on a date night once, like she's going to keep wanting that.
That's a good one.
It's like anything, right? It's like the best things in life require maintenance or wellness or things that we do. Once you read the Bible once, you want to keep reading it. So I want you just not to miss it, because so many people will say, well, because they're used to treatments for disease. And so I just want to encourage you that if you don't have a good chiropractor and you're posturally not, fit or feel like something's off, like I'm going to tell you, it is not the magic sauce. It is just the physiological honoring of the body to be able to take care of the greatest thing that you have, and that is your brain, your spinal cord.
Love it.
So Dr. Aaron, I want to say one other thing, dude. I just commend you. You make this profession of chiropractic, you make all us chiropractors proud. You have such a wisdom and just the effort that you put to educate people. I just want to commend you of it. I thank you for it. The people that are hearing this, you have to continue to tune in. Dr. Aaron is one of the smartest, not just in our profession, but in healthcare altogether. And I have many buddies that we talk about. It's like, this guy, just doesn't forget anything. And so I just want to thank you, buddy, because, you're making the world a better place. And I just want to make sure nobody misses how brilliant you are.
Yeah, thank you for that. So the commercials have been busting on the door, but I've held them back. So, hey guys, we are completing now our series with Dr. Dan Sullivan, the Chiropractic Advocate. If you want his free giveaways, the research, the Power of Adjustment poster, and my free ebook, Finding Your Healing, text your first name, last name, the word health, and your email to 704-906-2094. We have to go because the commercials are choking us down, but we'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Be blessed. Hey, it's Dr. Ernst, host of the Ask Dr. Ernst show. And I'm curious if you would be willing to let me show you for free how to heal yourself. I've just put the finishing works on a brand new ebook called Find Your Healing, a step-by-step guide to locating the top 3 interferences with natural healing. Your thoughts, the traumas you physically have had to your body, and toxins. We're going to show you how to identify each of those and some simple at-home techniques that you can begin to implement natural healing. If you'd like me to send you this new ebook, just text the word healing to 704-906-2094. Don't forget to also send your name and your email so we can send it directly to you. And also as a bonus, I'm hosting a masterclass, How to Heal Yourself. It's on Saturday, September 14th at 10 a.m. in the morning. That's also free. Text the word healing with your name and email to 704-906-2094. Once again, 704-906-2094.
Hey, this is Towns from Lenny Boy. We were founded in 2011. In 2012, we became the only certified organic kombucha that's made in the Southeast. And now in 2013, we're taking it up one more notch and making alcoholic kombucha. We are now an official North Carolina state licensed brewery. We're still going to have our traditional non-alcoholic kombuchas, our strawberry, ginger, lost rose, and kombucha beer. It's going to be the first in the Southeast, one of the only ones in the country. One of our first kombucha beers is a cantaloupe mint. It's going to come in at about 5.7% alcohol. Another flavor that we're coming out with is our Downright Root. It's a ginger and sweet potato kombucha beer and at 9% alcohol. We use North Carolina certified organic hops in all of our kombucha beer. It still has all the great B vitamins and probiotics in it. It just ranges from 1% alcohol all the way up to 11% ABV. Look for our non-alcoholic kombucha and our kombucha beer within North Carolina. Our tap room is going to be opening up here in the next couple weeks. Come try all of our new flavors and some of our great old flavors. Remember, always leave it better than you found it.
Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in and sticking around. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst show. My name is Dr. Ernst, and guys, we have a very special guest, Dr. Dan Sullivan, the Chiropractic Advocate, joining us today. And here's why it's so cool. He was only supposed to be here for the first segment, but he said the topic is too great. There's too much information that is still needing to be heard, so he decided to stick around for part 2 of part 2. Thank you, Dr. Dan, for joining us.
Yeah, it's my honor, man. We raised the calendar for the afternoon, and we're ready to rock and roll. I wanted to make sure nobody missed this idea.
Yeah, and I think
I want to make sure nobody missed the idea that your health is the most important thing you have, right? There's this proverb that says, the healthy person has thousands of dreams and goals and aspirations. The sick, diseased person has one. And if you only knew, and I know we always go back to this, right? But it's important, right? Because every time you get up every day, you have to reevaluate your life and what's important in the priorities. If you only knew how small disease starts, right? And how small it eventually stays until it becomes something big. And so then we go back to, it's like, well, what if you had a body that was performing on all cylinders? What if you had a body that was mentally, spiritually, and physically strong? What if you knew and started with the foundation that your body was pre-programmed for health, and that health was just like two cells came together and 9.5 months later created a baby without the human mind even having to really conceive or perceive it, and that's just a natural order of life? That if you knew and were showed and told as a youngster that your health is pre-programmed, as long as you do the right things for it. And this is where we've gone off the rails. Obviously, we talked about this many times. But if we don't start with that foundation, then eventually it looks like, oh, we found out this new thing, and we found out this new thing, and we got this new plan, and this new drug, and this new test, and this new technique. And it goes back to, it's like, no, there will never be a greater intelligence than the ones inside you that built you from two cells. And so we go back to that as chiropractors. We start from that premise. If we start there, then it says, well, where's the interferences? The only way we could get sick then is if there were interferences. One of those interferences happened to be a physical interference within the spine. The spine is an intimate connection to the brain, the central nervous system. That's not debatable. I've talked about this all over the world. You can't debate the spine and its role in the nervous system health. Therefore, that's why we get passionate about spinal health. But as Dr. Ernst so eloquently and talks about and obviously teaches you guys on is that there's other aspects, and you got these toxins that literally they've been found in umbilical cord blood that are undeniable and really unavoidable to some degree. So we have to be able to be aware of these and then minimize them, and then ultimately that that mental and emotional health that is so important. And all of this plays a part in what chiropractors do and what we've been talking about for the last however many years, and unfortunately have been told we're crazy and quacks. And you know what? We're still here.
So if you're just tuning in, we're talking with Dr. Dan Sullivan, the Chiropractic Advocate, and we discussed how go back to late 1800s, 1895, 6, 7, 8, early 1900s, the foundations of healthcare were just being formed. And in its infancy, there was medicine, and in its infancy, there was chiropractic. And the chiropractors said, no, disease doesn't come from the outside. It's 3 things. It's a misfire of your thought. You can have stinking thinking and you can will yourself to be sick. You can have a physical interference, which is what we just talked about the entire first segment of our show. And you can have a toxicological interference. Today we know it as, endocrine disruptors and biofilms and viruses and bacteria and heavy metals and pesticides. And I think how revolutionary just the thought of one man having this idea that is spread across the entire world, foundationally creating vitalistic functional healthcare. So Dr. Dan, let me ask you a question. I'm a radio listener. I have never been to a chiropractor, and I'm kind of thinking maybe I should do this. But here's my thing. I have X medical condition. I have something like psoriasis. And I'm a little nervous and I'm embarrassed because I'm rubbing creams all over my body and I'm taking Humira and it's not going away. How do I find if chiropractic has research to show that my condition could get better? Where do I go and how do I do this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Here's one of the challenges, and that's a real challenge. I want to first acknowledge and admit that unfortunately in today's world, and one of our close friends, and was one of my best friends, Dr. Josh Axon. He's got a huge website that he's built for a long time, and back about 5 years ago, right during COVID and post-COVID, there was a radical shift. I don't know if you guys know this, but we know this in natural health space that everything was bought, and including the Google. So even you going and searching something on Google, you could even search the exact article name, and sometimes something jumps above it. So my point is if you just do a random search, you are unfortunately not going to get told the truth. And I think we don't have to, you probably the followers here, you understand there's certain powers that be that aren't wanting you to know a certain level of truth. Now, that said, here's a website that I'm just telling you, you can write this down or type this out. And the website is vertebralsubluxationresearch.com.
And it's a huge term. So I'm going to have my team put it across the screen, probably right here, big and bold so you can see how to spell it. But go again.
Yes, vertebralsubluxationresearch.com. And there's a bar on there where you can go to advanced search. And you just click on that search button and it'll take you to this bar, and you can literally search any condition you want, and it will show you the evidence that supports people just like you that have been having that condition and ultimately were able to overcome it through chiropractic and exactly how they did that. And so but you got to be very strategic with that because, again, most people don't know this either, that you can't, you don't, even if there was a drug out there that was better than a different drug, but there's no patent on it, you're never going to hear about it. You could go look for it on a website. You could go try to find it from a doctor. You will never hear about it because the only thing that is promulgated in this world right now from a healthcare standpoint is the patentable chemicals. It's why vitamin D and fish oils and certain things you're not going to see them, you're going to find a lot of data unless you know how to look for them, who you're looking for them from. Those can't be patented, by the way, because you can't patent, certain natural occurring substances. The point is that the powers that be don't want you to know or care about anything that doesn't make them money. So it's got to have a patent on it that can make them money. So I know you think we're kind of crazy, here they go off again. So there's just some reality to this. So we want to protect and give you an opportunity to hear some truth. So go to that website as it was in there, and you can look it up. And this is where, for me though, Dr. Aaron, one of the things that I really like to do, and that's why I'm here in places like this, to be able to say, okay, when you look at those conditions and you look at why people that have overcome them, my thing is always, but why and how could that possibly be true? So if you had an MD or a neurologist or a researcher out there like, okay, I can see that happened, but they want to know why, and you're so brilliant at this, what's the neuroscience behind that? What's the biochemical response? How do we describe that? And I'm not here to get that and geek out on you here and go neurological, because that's not the point. I want to keep it simple and usable, but I just want you to know that the evidence and the science behind why the chiropractor has helped people with hearts and lungs and diabetes and fertility and digestion and skin problems and hair problems is scientific and backed up with the gold standard of evidence that any MD or researcher would have at their disposal. So we play on the same field, and we learn from the same textbooks, and we study the same cadavers. So that's the cool part I want to bring right now.
So watch this, okay? So we're live. So I went to vertebralsubluxationresearch.com, typed in the word psoriasis, and guess what the number one thing that popped up is? I'm going to read this word for word for all of you. Title of the published case study: Resolution of Psoriasis Secondary to Chiropractic. Look how cool that terminology is. It says psoriasis is an autoimmune disease with a dermatological manifestation of unknown cause. Medically, an 85-year-old male with psoriasis affecting his entire body went to see a chiropractor. The patient was seen 30 times in 4 months. So that would probably be about twice a week, more or less. So they went to a chiropractor twice a week for only 4 months. 85 years old. And it says complete significant improvement of skin condition was observed and confirmed through diagnostic skin testing. Like, come on. I'm sorry, I got too excited. So, can you go online, but you have to do it the right way. You have to go straight to the journal and type in psoriasis, sciatica, diabetes, thyroid. Yes! And think about how cool this is. Now, Dr. Dan, my next question. I go online, I look this up, I see chiropractic can help psoriasis. I'm a psoriatic patient, and I'm going to try to find a chiropractor who can do that in 4 months. That's the next biggest, most difficult thing, because you have the joint, you have 100% chiropractic, and I'm just naming them because these are franchises. You have, like such and such family chiropractic. How on earth will our listeners be able to find someone who in 4 months can remove a subluxation and make their psoriasis, blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, thyroid issues resolve by not treating their condition? How would you do that?
How would I find one, you saying?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to get your guide to how to find
Nailed
a
it.
great chiropractor.
Thank you. It was a subtle plug to see if he would say what I thought he would say, and you did a great job. So we together wrote an ebook called Find Your Healing, and I would like to, Dr. Dan, if you're willing to do this, live time role play that phone call. So I'll be the 47-year-old with psoriasis. I'm going to call Sullivan Chiropractic because I followed the protocol, and I'm going to show you guys how to do this. So we're going to do this live time. Everybody, okay, ready? Step number 1, you're going to open up either Apple Maps or Google Maps, and while you can't trust Google searching, you can trust the maps. The maps find people. Would you agree? So I'm going to type in chiropractic and my zip code. And so I'm going to do Nashville, Tennessee, because that's where you are. So I'm going to say chiropractor in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm going to get a list of a ton of them. Now, word of caution, the sponsored ones, it'll say sponsored. I usually avoid them like the plague because they are paying to own the phrase chiropractor in such and such town. And that's usually a sign of a struggling chiropractor. I'm just be honest. If you have to pay for Google ads to help your name show up, you're usually not a really good office. Most really good offices, they don't really need to pay for advertising because they're so good. They're like, we actually could try to close our doors from people. So your clinic pops up because you have the highest Google reviews of everyone. So I teach in my book, Find Your Healing, search for the office, sort by reviews, and call the first one that has the highest reviews. So I'm looking at this page. It says Sullivan Chiropractic, 486 positive reviews. All the rest of them are like 100 or less. So I'm going to make this phone call, and I'm going to show you guys how to do this. You ready, Dr. Dan?
Yeah. Now my staff would usually do this, so you're putting me on the spot. So this is really good.
Well, you could even pretend to be the office manager if you want, because usually he's right. You don't call and get the chiropractor on the phone. So he will be the senior office manager for Sullivan Chiropractic, and I am the patient. So here we go. Ring, 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 and he's going to answer, right?
Hello, this is Sullivan Chiropractic. It's a great, beautiful day. How can I help you?
So my name is Aaron, and this probably is going to sound strange, but I've never been a chiropractor, and I was Google searching, and you guys have a ton of reviews, but I just would like to know if you can help me with my condition.
Aaron, it's good to meet you. Totally understand. Appreciate the call. Let me ask you, what's your condition? What are you struggling with?
So again, like this is probably normal for you guys, but this is like a first time experience for me. So I have psoriasis, and it's all over my neck and my elbows and my back and my legs. And you're going to think this is maybe crazy, or maybe you don't, but I was listening to a podcast, and this chiropractor in Charlotte gave me an ebook, and he said that I should call the clinic in advance and ask these 5 questions. Are you okay if I ask these 5 questions?
Yeah, for sure. And let me first tell you, like, I commend you for even making this call. I can tell it sounds, like, one, you want help. I hate to hear that you're suffering, And so it isn't weird to us, and I'm so glad you're calling us. So shoot them at me. I would love to.
Okay, so again, and I hope this is not like weird, but this seems strange to me, but they said to do this because like this will help me find out if you guys can help me. Okay, so question number 1, what is vertebral subluxation? Because I don't know, but I have an answer. So can you tell me for you, what is vertebral subluxation?
Wow, whoever you got that from, I already love, because the fact that you are even asked this question is important. It tells me that you are educated and you want some answers. So vertebral subluxation, very simply, Aaron, is when a spine when a bone in the spine, you've got 24 of them, but when a bone in the spine is not aligned or it's not moving appropriately, and what happens, the problem with that is, and most people aren't aware of this, and that's why I'm so glad you're calling, is that it can stress the nervous system, and your nervous system is the master controller. So that's like your brain and your spinal cord that controls everything, hearts, lungs, but also controls your skin. So the skin that you're having a problem with, potentially there could be an interference, and that's where we come in and we assess if there is stress on that nervous system that could impact something like you're having. So I love that. What's your next question?
Well, that's honest. You kind of led to the next question. It says, how do you assess and locate a vertebral subluxation?
Yeah, another awesome question. So there's many different techniques in chiropractic, and different chiropractors use different techniques, things that they like, things that they are good at. And so, but the bottom line is testing. We don't ever just guess. We want to put a test on it. So x-rays of the spine to indicate the postural position and the alignment. We also do range of motion to see how it's moving, but we also have some other specialized technology like heart rate variability tells the function of the brain and the nervous system and the autonomic system, the stuff that you don't have to think about, hearts, lungs, and breathing. You also have things like thermography that some chiropractors use. For us, we use something called surface EMG. So we have technology that also helps us align it up with it's like taking an x-ray of your teeth, but we can take an x-ray of the spine to see the position that they're in, and then when we combine that with all our other neurological and orthopedic testing, we'll know exactly if there is interference, where it's at, how long it's been there, and ultimately if it is contributing to the symptoms that you're suffering. Does that make sense?
It does, and you know the cheat sheet I have says pretty much everything you said. So it sounds like you guys, you know what a subluxation is, you know how to find them. Okay, the third question says, this is a difficult one for me to ask because I'm actually kind of embarrassed to ask this. Can I have a subluxation even though I have no pain?
Again, another great question, and I think I always come back to, and because I was new to this at one point too, Aaron, so I appreciate everything you're saying and understand it. You think about somebody could have, like, I had to ask myself, could somebody have high blood pressure without knowing it? Could somebody unfortunately have tumors without knowing it? Could somebody even have a cavity in their teeth without knowing it? And it turns out it's the same concept. The brain actually runs the body, and not all the nerves feel pain, and so there can be no pain in the body, just like some of these other conditions, and it can be within the spine. And so that's exactly why we test it, by the way. And we actually, when we can correct something, it's not just based on how you feel, it's about how you function. So we can give a pre-test and then do the work that we do and a post-test, so you didn't have to guess the work that we did, and we show that. We take pride in our technique and technology.
Just to be honest, it sounds like you actually wrote this ebook, because the next question says, how do you make sure, as I'm going through therapy, that my subluxation is resolved or reducing? So can you describe, if I start care and you say I have a subluxation and then I start care, how will I find out if that subluxation is going away or is gone?
Yeah, it's another awesome question. It's like if you went to a trainer, you think they're going to take, how do you know I'm getting better? Even me, I'm sore. Like if you go to a trainer and they're sore after a week or 2 weeks, are you even getting better? Because you feel worse. You're weaker and you're more sore, right? So they have some standards that they're able to look at, and they evaluate your weight, they evaluate your body fat percentage, they can evaluate multiple different factors. And same thing with us is that, again, we go back to, we don't guess, we test to know where you start, what is the problem to address, and then ultimately, and we do that through, again, our technology and our x-ray findings, as well as motion palpation and things that we can just test as a doctor to find out if things are moving and more aligned. to find out that for you and be able to report that and show you like that. Like we pride ourselves on objectivity, so not just what you feel.
So my final question, because again, it's the top 5 questions to interview. So thank you for answering these. Is do you currently have success with people that came in with psoriasis and have gotten better? Do you have I saw all the Google reviews, but do you guys A, have patients currently with psoriasis, and B, do you have some place I could go to see people who have gotten rid of their psoriasis? Because again, that's what I have, and I just want assurance that you can help me.
Yeah. Again, these are great questions, and I love them. And even when you start off, it kind of sounds weird, even when you're asking these questions, it kind of sounds weird that I'm going to tell you this, because with most people, if I don't have enough of a time to explain it, it sounds like I'm the weird one to think that that we have doctors that metaphorically and scientifically push on somebody's spine and make adjustments that really is pushing on spine in a very specific scientific way, and things heal like psoriasis or skin issues or dermatitis or heart, lungs, fertility. We see all these things, Aaron, and it's crazy, but until you understand the link between the spine and the nervous system and the fact that your skin is the largest organ in your body. It is an organ. That organ is under the control of the brain, and the brain is intimately connected to the spine. So this is why we take pride in our work. And so I can show you there's research, there's websites out there that could show you all the evidence and the science that supports this, the research that backs this up. And when you come in, we can show you exactly, or you can even go to our website, people just like you that have. Now I want to make this one caveat, right? And this is where I don't know if it was clear, and maybe it sounds like you're coming from a very educated place, is that one of the things we do pride ourselves on as chiropractors is we don't treat the condition, we treat the person. And that person has a healing capability. And so when it comes to disease treatment, we don't treat that disease, the psoriasis or the heart disease or the diabetes or the cancer or the immune system or the irritable bowel. We remove interference. And then we teach them that, again, your body has the ability to remove that on its own. So we allow that self-healing mechanism within the body to do what it was meant to do. And that's why we see the results with A, B, or C condition, or in your case, what you're looking for. And so it goes back to being able to improve function and allowing that body to heal itself. And it sounds like in this case, you need evaluated. So we need to get you in, and we need to find out, we need to get our test on you. If we can help you, Aaron, we'll tell you that. If we can't, we'll tell you that too. That's the beauty. Our tests are going to indicate, but it sounds like what you have is potential interference that we could address.
Yeah, so I was reading, again, I'm calling you guys because I listened to this podcast with 2 doctors that said you should interview your chiropractor first. And I went to this website and it said that there was resolution of psoriasis in a patient in only 4 months. Am I hearing you say that my psoriasis could go away by getting chiropractic care? That's what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
It's a very real possibility, buddy. Yeah, we've seen it over and over again. And here's the thing. We've seen people just like you that have healed from things like psoriasis. Again, not treating the psoriasis, but removing interference. And if you have interference, we'll let you know that. If you don't, we'll let you know that too. But if you do, you're going to be in the right place.
Hey, so I'd like to book an appointment. Guys, it's that easy. And look how cool this is. Right now, I'm going to be honest with you. You can tell this is a doctor, Dr. Dan Sullivan, and you can tell his answers were from a doctor's perspective. But a lot of ways you will also know if a chiropractic clinic is a good one to go to is, can their staff speak with the same authority? Can the office manager answer these questions? Because a truly philosophically minded educational clinic will also have their staff under care, will have their staff knowing how to speak. I mean, I'm sure this happened with you, Dr. Dan. I've had new patients call in and my office manager did the entire conversation start to finish and got them to book an appointment without even talking to me. And they came in and said, "Where's the female doctor that I spoke to?" And it's like, no, that was our office manager. So we have maybe a minute. How would you like to close out today, Dr. Dan?
I think that just did it. That was awesome. I've never done that on live, and so that was good. I hope that really served, because how simple it can be, and even ask questions. Notice how good. There's also this element of communication, right? We're humans. We don't have all the answers, but we have this desire that you would experience the health that we know you deserve, we know you're capable of, our families get to experience, and that's what we want. For my prayer is that everybody on this line just know that you can be better and healthier in a year from now, in 5 years, and 10 years from now. So don't buy into the lie that you can't, and we're obviously here for the ride. So Dr. Aaron, again, always appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dan. And hey, listen, if you want the free giveaways, we have the Find Your Healing ebook. We have Dr. Dan's research. We have the Power of the Chiropractic Adjustment poster. Just text your name and your email to 704-906-2094. Dr. Dan, as always, an absolute honor to have you for 2 weeks in a row now. Thank you for that. Guys, you are blessed with this. Listen to the replay, watch the podcast, and have a beautiful Saturday. Until next week, be blessed.